We
Yeah,
look demented.
we'll give it a go.
I don't know what that is. Hey, y'all.
Neither do I, guys.
We're live, though.
It's us.
You all should be over on YouTube watching us if you're still on Twitter.
Just what? Yeah, come on over to YouTube and talk with us. We like to chat. So yeah, so come on over to YouTube. Okay, it's the Our Turf podcast. This is so. Camden says, "Hey, see, there you go. We get." As always, we want to thank Donkeys. Thank you so much, Donkeys, for sponsoring us again this year. We really, really, really appreciate it. And we know it's hard. You go. I feel you. So I feel you. Jump into everything. I bet to recognize and to say recognize. Just tragic. And so our hearts, prayers, thoughts, good wishes, good vibes, condolences go, and friends and Chandler, Lavelle Davis Jr., and Deshaun Perry. So we are very sorry and their loved ones at this time. And I might be skipping around, and it is Trans Awareness. So there we go. I did not know that. Happy Trans Awareness Week. And here is our BFF. I'm trying to add her.
We're having all the technical difficulties today. Michelle's having problems with her camera. You're cutting out like crazy.
All the technical difficulties today.
That's what makes it fun. If you're with us live, you get all the good stuff.
I'm trying to add
I see her.
Okay, there she is.
Oh, she's gone again. What
Sorry,
did you do?
Guys. You see her? Or
no, she disappeared again.
Hang on. I keep clicking. She wasn't.
Stop clicking. Oh, never overclick.
Okay, she's there. Michelle is there, you guys. You guys, please join us on our... Is she there? Yes.
No. Oh, I love when Dana's on vacation because we are just a hot mess express and she gets so aggravated with us. But I'm like, listen, you went to Germany for 2 weeks. You got to watch the Seahawks in Munich. And then she's complaining because apparently in Germany you can smoke at an outdoor stadium or an indoor stadium. They're smoking everywhere. So they're just smoking all up in the stands. I don't even remember when you could smoke in sporting event stands in this country. Like I don't know that you've ever been allowed to, but in Europe it's a different thing. In Germany it's a different thing. Sonia's frozen. I'm just talking. Can you hear me? Oh, you're not making a happy face. I still know Michelle. I don't know what to do. Are we just going to laugh our way through this show?
Oh, my gosh. No! Now Michelle's devices aren't acting.
All right. Well, her devices are acting up. I will remind y'all, if you're in New Jersey, you can go to Camden, Medford, or Mount Holly and get to Donkeys for a cheesesteak. If you don't know what they have, you go to our Twitter page, Archer Football, and you can see some pictures of their food. There's Michelle. Sonia, don't click anything. I see Michelle. I see her. Yes. Don't never double click. Always double tap. Wrong movie. Okay. I think we're all here. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hello, ladies. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. She's not. Sonia's hands free. Oh, can we start with that Monday night football game last night? Now she's frozen. You know, we talked about the Eagles and if they were going to make it through the whole season unbeaten. And I thought if they did, it would be like the best storyline if you could get them and the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. So the number one, the Dolphins have a chance to be the only team to beat them that year. since the 72 Dolphins were the last team to win all season and then the Super Bowl. But then you've also, I was reminded, you would also have with the Dolphins and the Eagles, 2 former Alabama quarterbacks. And didn't Jalen Hurts transfer out because he got benched for Tua or something?
Correct.
So you'd have that drama going on too. But when we talked about the Eagles, I think it was even last week, we were looking at the schedule and we said, you know what, it's not going to be one of these good teams that beats them. They're going to overlook, somebody like the Lions or the Browns or some team like that on their schedule, or Washington. The Commanders came to play yesterday. The Commanders came to play last night. That game was insane.
Well, that's the thing about the wonderful NFC East.
Their defense
we hate each other so much. Yeah, we hate each other so much that everybody always comes to play each other. And so it was funny because my brother and I were talking about the game earlier that day before, and we were like, everybody thinks it's going to be a blowout, but this game's going to go back and forth. I was like, yeah, it'll go back and forth, and then somebody will pull away in the fourth quarter. I was thinking that would be Philadelphia, and that ended up being Washington, but we knew the game would be close going in just because that's just the NFC East. That's how we are against each other.
Yeah. So 2 things. First of all, I kind of think it's a good thing because I think it gets that monkey off Philly's back. They can run the rest of the season. It puts them a little bit less under the spotlight of being undefeated. But I'm with you. I expected that game to be at least through 3 quarters something to watch, because even though Washington's been unpredictable and inconsistent, you're right. The NFC East is another of the divisions. There's 3 or 4 where those games are just, they hate each other. They're at it. The one game that really surprised me this weekend was the Bills and the Vikings. I did not see that coming. I didn't see the last couple minutes of that game. Like, I don't think anyone saw the end of that game was a hot mess. I was thinking about it during the Philly game last night because there was a point where Washington went to punt, I think it was, and there was a penalty. So they got to actually make a play and then turn the ball over. So they turned the ball over on their own 20, whereas if they had just punted, it would have been maybe on Philly's 20 and they wouldn't have scored right away. And that same thing happened a similar thing happened in that Buffalo, Minnesota game where on 4th and goal, they don't get it across. So Buffalo takes over on downs. And then instead of just taking a knee in the end zone and giving up the safety, somehow they fumble the snap and it ends up getting landed on by a Bill touchdown. I mean, it was, the Bills the Vikings go from being about as sad as you can be. You were this close to a touchdown and beating the Bills. And then one play later, your defense saves the day. They end up running down the field. It ends up going to overtime. I mean, it was just the drama at the end of that game. We've had quite a few of those games this season where you really have to stay all the way through the end of the game. That Browns-Jets game from earlier in the season where the Browns are up, 13 points with 2 minutes left and they end up losing? Like, no lead is safe in the NFL. The way these defenses are playing and stuff and the craziness, no lead is safe anymore for any team.
Yeah, and for Buffalo, that's 2 weeks. That's 2 games in a row because the Jets game, it was the same. Well, it wasn't a wild and crazy ending, but it went to the end. Yep. And, I'm in the sports bar a lot watching the game, so there are a lot of Buffalo Bills fans in there. And both weeks, they were already celebrating. We have a guy that brings all of the chants from the Bills Stadium, and they do them inside the sports bar. And this particular week, they started playing when it looked like they were going to win. And we was like, okay, don't celebrate too early. Remember what happened with you in the Jets game. It was so funny because it was like the same thing, like the same disappointment.
Yep. And then you have, if you look at the Bills' schedule, they've got the Browns next and then Detroit, which I'm sure they're looking at the schedule thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. It's not. That Detroit Lions game against the Bears yesterday.
I think they could win that one.
Girl, what was that? The Bears were all over the Lions that whole game, and then all of a sudden, wham!
Yep.
I felt bad for our friend Wanda, but I'm like, our girl Sonia's going to be dancing on Tuesday because that was a very nice come from behind win.
Yeah, that game that game was exciting. I love it. I mean, I love that's what you love about the NFL, because the any given Sunday, you don't know who's going to win. Records don't matter, especially I think in the first 6 or 7 games. I think teams are now starting to gel and figure out who they are and where they're going. And so this is what I say, the second half of the season. And so the people who lost this week in week 10, they're 0-1 or 1-0, because this is the second half. And so this is the half that decides who will do what and who will go where. So
yeah, well, speaking of losing this weekend, my Browns, who took it to the Bengals on Monday Night Football on Halloween, had a bye week, and then half of them didn't show against Miami this week. And I want to say it was because the Browns played really poorly. But let me tell you, them Dolphins are clicking on all cylinders. And the talk around here leading up to it was really about Tua. And, you know, he's not this good and he's getting no credit, and it's his third year. And like he's really not getting credit for playing as well as he played. Now I know, you know, they got Tyreek Hill, but I don't know that that's the reason that they're winning these games. I'm curious what you girls think on why Tua doesn't seem to be getting talked about in the, you know, the upper echelon quarterback or the elite quarterback conversation. I know we had those concussion issues earlier, but that was really the way that was managed by the team. I don't know that those were Tua's fault, but he just doesn't seem to be getting the love that I think he should be getting, considering what he's done with this Dolphins team.
And I think it's a trust issue for Tua. Nobody really trusts Tua. Yes, he's playing well this season. I think the McDaniels has orchestrated a wonderful offense that fits his skill set. He's getting the ball out quicker. He's throwing the ball accurately. I mean, he's doing the things. They're not winning just because of Tyreek Hill or Waddle. They're winning because Tua is putting the ball in places where they can just score. They can run with the ball. They're and not just that though. Their running game has picked up. Everything is picked up, and of course,
Who's their
your running
back?
game is going to pick up when you have Waddle and Tyreek Hill on the outside, and you can just dump it off for 2 yards, 5 yards, and then they take it to the house. And so that's what you see when you see the Dolphins.
Roaster, who's their running back?
Yeah, well, they have several of them. Royster is one of them.
He's running well.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll
Wilson
see if we can
Jr.
get Sonia in, if her technical difficulties have gotten fixed or not. Sonia, do you think Tua was mismanaged during the Brian Flores years? Oh, we've lost her. I personally think he was mismanaged when Flores was in there, and I don't know if that was Flores' fault or if that was.
Well, I think Tua was injured. You know, you got to remember he was injured his first year when they got him, and then he was injured the second year. I mean, he played
So
well.
you got to mute one of those
that's how the
devices.
beard
We're
got
getting
in
feedback on.
because Tua. Can you hear me? Yep.
I can hear you, but I'm hearing double on Sonia's end.
Yeah, me
so
too. I'm
she's
hearing
got to
that.
mute
Yeah.
something. But yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I know he was hurt, but it was weird the way Flores put him in and then pulled him out, and there was that whole starter controversy, and I didn't know. After everything came out with them being accused of tanking and the owner making decisions,
I don't think that was Flores'
played in on that.
Still to this day, I don't think that was his decision to do that. I think that was the owner's decision, that Tua, because they drafted Tua number 1 with their top pick, you know, they didn't want him sitting on the bench. And the Beard was playing well, and they wanted to keep him in. The players wanted to keep him in. Everybody wanted to keep him in. And then they come out of the blue and they put Tua back in. And I don't think that was someone above him that caused that. And I think that's what caused all the problems within the organization for Flores and the Dolphins when that decision was made, because I think the players were upset. They're happy now, but they were upset then.
Yeah, I agree. I think that also contributed to it slowed down his growth as a quarterback. And I think it's contributing to some people's distrust of him or not giving him enough credit because they keep reflecting on his first 2 years, and I think he got a raw deal those first couple of years, and the fact that he is still here and that he is, persevered and is still, and with those concussions, with that, especially that second one, I wasn't sure how quickly he would be back, and if he was back, what kind of shape he would be in when he came back, and he's making really good decisions, which tells me his brain is working just fine. So yeah, they're going to be really hard to beat. That AFC East, it's interesting because now it's been the Patriots division for so long with everyone else just being kind of meh. And now you've got a three-way battle, a true battle between Miami, the Jets, and Buffalo, and the Patriots are just a game behind them. So like it's
right.
not
So
even.
you can't really, you can't really count the Patriots out of the division too, because there are so many more games to play,
Yep.
and they still have to play everybody. So, but I think, and I said this last week, the Dolphins and Philadelphia were the two best teams.
Our
At
friend
this
Graham,
moment.
our friend Graham is starting to do this new thing with the weird stat of the week, and his stat that last week was that the Bills were the only team to be leading their division that did not actually have a division win.
Right.
They've been winning all their non-division games. So we'll see if at some point they're going to have to beat the teams in their division if they want to finish on top and get to the playoffs.
And those games only going to help them if they finish tied.
Yep.
In the division.
Yep. All right, Sonia, we see you again. How are you doing, girl? Are you getting through your
Oh my
issues?
God. I have know what's going on, but I think I'm better now.
You are better.
I can hear you. We're all syncing. I think it was the Xbox. Anyways,
do you have any thoughts on Tua and what's going on with him and why people aren't, all up on that bandwagon?
I kind of think that some up. So kind of like, yeah, they're going good, but so that's really what it is. Out of the credit. Because he's weathered some storms. With people wanting to trade him literally halfway in, just seeing how he's done. I think he's more confident right now. I think he's got a system or a support system that loves him and is willing to do what they need to do. And so, yeah, I think it's all Tua right now.
Can you grab, I don't know if you can grab Graham's comment out of the chat. Graham says he was given no weapons and a horrible O-line too in those first 2 years. Absolutely
I agree with that. That's absolutely the truth. The O-line was awful. But I think that, again, when you look at the scheme of the offense, he's getting the ball out quicker. So the offensive line is not coming into play because the ball is already out of his hands very quickly. And you do that when your offensive line is not up to par.
Well, so, you have to learn to do that, right? When your offensive line isn't good, you have to learn to be successful and get rid of that ball quick. And so he's been lucky that he's done that. This is the least amount of sacks he's had this year. Even though we saw those terrible ones with the concussions, this is the least number of sacks he's had through 10 weeks of any of his 3 seasons. So either the O-line has improved or it's improved enough because he's getting rid of the ball faster that he's protecting himself from getting sacked because he's just getting rid of the ball. It's like a hot potato. I don't want to get hit again. I'm just going to get rid of the ball.
And when you watch him, he has command of the offense, and that's very important. You look, he's very comfortable in that offense. And so I think, maybe they threw in a little things that he was good at when he was in Alabama. Yep. And they just look good. The Dolphins look good on both sides of the ball. They have the passing game, and they can also run the ball. So those are the recipes for movement into the playoffs. So we'll see how it goes for them the rest of the way.
I think so. Sonia, what's next on our list?
She's still frozen.
She froze.
Yeah.
I think she's still. Sonia, if you can hear us, maybe turn your camera off and just go on audio because I see you. I see you trying to move. Oh, I hope everyone's loving this. Everyone's loving this. So what do you think in general? One of the things that we've talked about this season and for a lot of teams. We talked about the first-year head coaches or the new head coaches for the teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, McDaniels, we call him hippie homebrew. He just looks like a the 15-year-old guy that would be holding the clipboard for the coach on the sidelines at a high school game, right? He just doesn't look like an NFL coach. Between him and the job that he's doing this year, and let's not forget to mention Jeff Saturday got a win there in Indy, if I'm
Look
not
at that.
mistaken. Got a big win in Indy. I think the two of them were my favorite coaching jobs this weekend.
Well,
I think
mean, but let's go back to the NFC East, and Drabble down there in New York, up there in New York, is doing a wonderful job. The Eagles are in second place in the NFC East. They 7-2. I was in the Sam's club today arguing with the Eagles fan, and he said the one thing he said was, I just didn't see it coming. I had no idea that we would be, where we are. And I'm saying, like, well, I had better thoughts about your team than you did, just because Saquon Barkley was returning. And I think that changes a lot of things with the offense when you have that type of running game in the backfield, and it opens up the passing game. And then you have a quarterback who also can run. Their defense is pretty good, but they look a lot better. They spent some time in the draft getting some offensive linemen, and they brought in a couple of more people on defense. So I think those upgrades for the Giants was just what they needed, and we'll see how far they go moving forward. They have an opportunity to win in the division. Their only problem, I think, they're like 0-1. They haven't really won a division games yet, but
yeah.
And they're
they were one of the teams that we talked about on our preseason show that we thought was going to improve this year, but we didn't think it was going to be this much. I think them and the Jets, I guess both the New York teams, right?
Yep.
We all agreed that they were going to be better than last year, but none of us saw them being as good as they are right now. So, it's hard as a Browns fan. People keep telling me you can improve a team from one year to the next. You can go from the bottom to the top. And I've seen it done the wrong way so many times that when these teams do it, I'm like, all right, what did you do? What did the Jets do? What did the Giants do? Is it really the coach? Is it really, what we're seeing in from McDaniels in Miami, I think, is back to your earlier point, is he has set up this offense to make his quarterback successful. He's calling plays that his quarterback is good at, giving him some of the little easy ones to build up his confidence, and then letting that avalanche into a really good offense. And I think you're seeing the same thing in New York with the Giants, that Daniel Jones has had so much more success this year with not just the improvement in his skills from one year to the next, but in the play calling and the way that offense is running. It's a very it's designed to find the few things that he's good at, because I don't think he's great, but he is good at some things, and they're actually doing them and doing them well. So it's surprising that they are doing as well as they are, not that they're doing well. You know what I mean? Like I said, we all thought they'd improve, not this much.
And I think another surprise is the Minnesota Vikings. Again, they've had some years where they were favored to win their division, or they were favored to go, and it just didn't happen. And this year, once again, they're playing well. And no one really is talking about them because no one really trusts Kirk Cousins to lead them. And the Vikings have set us up like this before, where they start out and they have they look good going all the way in, and then they just falter down in this half of the season right now. So, but they're 8-1, and they're still kicking, and they won a nice game against Buffalo last week. They got Dallas coming up. Dallas just lost to Aaron Rodgers, I'll say, since he's 8-2 against us and always knows how to beat us.
I'm still trying to figure that out. Aaron Rodgers got another wacky haircut. Good Lord. Those Packers are a hot mess. I mean, they're
underachieving.
They are not a good football team. They pull a win like this week's right out of thin air. I'm like, where did this come from? It's got to be driving Packer fans crazy.
Yeah, the offense. Well, leave it to Dallas to allow the offense to start clicking. Aaron Rodgers was able to connect with his rookie receiver, which they drafted to replace Devontae Adams, and this was the first game that he really showed up.
Was that Watson?
Because Lazarus only had like three catches, so he didn't really even target him in the game. You know, he worked with the rookie. He worked with what Dallas gave him, and they took advantage of it. Also, they were able to run the ball, which they haven't been doing as much this season, but they were able to do that in that game. And so, you know.
Yeah, so we just talked about that Minnesota win over Buffalo. Should Buffalo fans be scared right now?
I think so. The problem with Buffalo is that the media and has crowned them a champion the last 2 years. I mean, the NFL even changed the overtime rules for Buffalo, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And so when you have that much pressure going in, they have the team to get there. You know, they just can't get over that hump for some reason. And this looks like it may be another year for them in the same category. I mean, they're going to have to get it going, because this time, and maybe that might be a plus, this time they won't go in as the leader of their division. You know, if they can't get past the Dolphins, if they can't beat the Dolphins in their next in Buffalo, then, you know, they're going to hope for a wild card. And I think they may get 2 teams out of that division in the playoffs this year.
I think Buffalo fans should be worried as well. You know, you spent all those years complaining that you couldn't get past Brady and Belichick, and now they're gone, and you still can't get there. You can't get out of your own way. Mm-hmm. Sonia, are you going to try to talk again? Camden and Graham in the chat are missing you, and they were so excited that you were back, and then Camden jinxed it, and we lost you again. I'm afraid to ask.
I think we've lost her again. Oh,
okay, I think come back.
Maybe turn off your camera and just do video, just do audio. Because you're back and everything goes good, and then all of a sudden we lose you again.
When will I see?
She's dying. She's got so many thoughts on these topics. Some of them were her topics that she wanted to talk about today. So I know it's killing her that she can't get in on the conversation about this.
I know.
Look at her rolling her eyes.
I'm dying over here, you guys.
Our friend of the show, John, actually lives in the Buffalo area, and he didn't go to the game last week. He's like, I'm a Vikings fan living it with, and all my friends are Bills fans. I can't go to the game and root for my team and be all stressed and freaked out with all my friends there rooting for the other team. And by the time that game was over, it was probably a good thing he wasn't there and that he was at home throwing things and screaming and yelling.
Well, there's a couple that comes to the sports bar where I watch the games, and the wife is a Buffalo fan and the husband is a Vikings fan, and so we actually watched them near the end of that game, like exchange different emotions, and it was just so funny because at some point when Minnesota took over and Josh Allen fumbled the ball, the husband got up and walked to the bathroom. And the wife had her hands like this, and we were just looking at them like, man. And then he came back to the table and talked trash to her, so it was funny.
Sonia, I got to tell you, I don't know if I told you, my second oldest daughter is dating a Michigan fan, so she wears her Ohio State gear, and he wears his Michigan gear. I said, I hope you don't think you're marrying him. That mixed marriages don't work. I don't know how it's going to work if you think, you know. How are you going to raise the children? I have this conversation with them. I have a daughter who's engaged to a Steelers fan. They're getting married next year. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's a problem. Sonia, you can try to talk now. I'm going to be quiet and see if Sonia can talk without freezing up again. No. Sonia, I love you. I know you're trying. I know this is killing you. You. Oh, I don't even know what else we had to talk about today. I hate to end the show on this note with Sonia being silent, but I think those were all the big topics. What's going on with your Cowboys? Do we need to be worried about their defense?
I've been worried about them. I mean, I always just say, yeah, they're playing really good. And that's what I can say is that they're playing really good because you can see some things in certain games. You know, we would give up yards, but then we would buckle down near the red zone. That didn't happen this time. We wasn't able to stop the run. And our defense just didn't show up. Our defensive line wasn't there. Aaron had a lot of time to throw the ball, and even when he didn't, the receivers were wide open. But our offense has some issues. We're still bad on third down. We were like 5 of 15 on third down in that game. We can't score in the red zone. And just to be shut out in the last 18 minutes of the game, including the overtime. So, and then we make the decision to go for it on fourth down and overtime instead of kicking the field goal. And I'm pretty sure McCarthy said, even if we kick this field goal, Aaron's going to go down there and score. But I think if your decision was to go for it on 4th and 4, we probably should have ran the ball on third down to pick up a few yards, knowing that you're going to go for it anyway. And so, and I think that's where my issue with Dakota sometimes, and you are judged in those moments when you get the ball back and you can seal a victory or just drive your team down to score. And I really don't have faith most of the time that he can go down there and deliver that for us. He and the receivers are just totally out of sync at times, and some of them look lost. And that's what happened when you have a young receiving core. And they haven't really proven themselves without having another number one receiver there. And so I knew that was going to be an issue, and that showed up in that game too, with those interceptions that he threw in that game. And a lot of that had to do with the receivers and the way they were running the route. So
yeah, I didn't like that whole series. The third down, I didn't like the play calls. If your mentality is this is 4-down territory because you're going for it regardless, then I think you're right. Your second and third down plays are not what those were. They were trying to get it then, and when they didn't have a plan for 4th and 4. Clearly,
right.
They didn't have one that worked.
Because with no plan at all. So, and again, that goes back to the inexperience of Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. And so I haven't been too happy with his play calling, but I haven't been happy with the execution of the offense. And I think the passing game, there are some things there, but we're missing something. And we had a great receiving core, I thought, last year with the three of them, because it gave CeeDee Lamb and the other receivers time to grow without having the pressure of being number one or being the main focus. And now they have to be the main focus because you don't have that Cooper or someone else to take some of that pressure off of you.
Right. And on behalf of Cleveland, I will thank you for Cooper, even though he has largely been wasted here because, the hot mess Jacoby Brissett has been. But Deshaun will be back week 13, and we'll see how he does. I thought they started off well yesterday. I was wondering how all these rumors about Odell were going to affect CeeDee Lamb and Gallup and that. And, CeeDee caught that first pass, which was a nice one. And I thought, oh, he's stepping up. He's like, I'm going to be the man. We don't need Odell here. I got this. And then the offense just quit clicking as the game went on. Do you think there's any chance that Odell signs with Dallas? Is that going to be his new thing? He signs with the team for the last 6 weeks of the season, wins the Super Bowl, and then goes to somewhere else the next year? Is there any chance
if he's trying to go to the Super Bowl, I don't know if he's going to sign with us. But they I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or not for the Cowboys. I mean, of course, Odell proved in Los Angeles that he can still play. He actually was kind of like their top receiver in that Super Bowl. If you were really watching the game until he got injured, he was the man. But I think if you were going to make that move when we had that bye week, before the bye week, then you need to make that move, and so you give them some time to grow. I think. I just don't really know. CeeDee Lamb actually had a great game. He had over 100 yards receiving. I think he had like 11 catches. He had a good game. It's just there are no complimentary receivers. If
the defense zeroes in on him, there's really nobody else to go to.
Yeah. So. I mean, you have your tight end. I mean, and there may be someone to go to. It's just a matter are they in sync with Dakota? And I don't think that's there right now with the injuries and then the new players. There are a lot of new players, and even some of the players that we had in the game on fourth down. It's like why was the ball going to certain? Why were these people in the game?
And
Yeah,
that's
I
always
saw some weird personnel packages.
yeah, but that's
Completely.
been a problem. A couple of years ago, I think Dallas played, I think it was the Giants or Washington. It was the last game of the season. We needed to win that game. If we could win that game, it was playoffs. And it was another crucial fourth down, and Mari Cooper and the top receivers were on the sideline. And
Yeah.
and everybody's like, but why are they on the sideline? And they said, in his Mike McCarthy's excuse was, well, that's just the normal rotation. But that doesn't make sense if this is
No.
this is a fourth down for the game.
Right. It's win or go home. You need to
Yeah.
win these 4 yards or you're done. There ain't no rotation about it.
There's no
Anyway.
rotation. Your top players need to be on the field.
Yes. Yeah. Or even if you're not going to go to them, even if they're not the target of the play, the defense has to account for them.
Exactly.
Right? We do a lot of that in Cleveland where Nick Chubb isn't even on the field. And I'm like, I know it's an obvious passing down because Nick Chubb is on the sidelines. Maybe if he was on the field, you could get a few more defenders on the line. All right, look, girl, it's been great. I feel bad that we lost Sonia, but we need to wrap this up. Don't forget,
Yep.
if you're in the New Jersey area or traveling through, go visit our friends at Donkey's for the best cheesesteak on the Eastern Seaboard. They are in Camden, Medford, and Mount Holly, and they are a proud sponsor of the Our Turf Football Podcast. Thank you all for being here. I know it wasn't our usual show, but we got through the technical difficulties. And Michelle, you and I could talk football all day long. We could go for hours. But we are going to check out and end this one for now. We will talk to you next week. Hopefully we won't have technical problems next week.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Arrivederci.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.